Perhaps you're like me and you're pissed off that everyone is demanding time from you. They're demanding your attention. They're always asking something of you, and you're always just available for them to do so. When was the last time you switched your mobile phone off? When was the last time you weren't available? No one could reach you. You were off-grid, perhaps. When was that? Do you know how hard it is, certainly from what I've seen, for people to kind of just be idle and just be present and just stand still and not have any agenda or anything that they need to impulsively do? I see it with friends and family, and sometimes with myself, where the moment you get that inkling, the moment you have that space in time, it's almost like you quickly pull your phone out. You know, there's no room for silence anymore. There's no space for it. Do you think we were always like this? Do you think our ancestors, would pull out a phone if they were bored? And that's the problem. People aren't being allowed to get to a state of boredom anymore. You think about it when we were children. Being bored meant we had to do something. We had to fill a void. We had to go and build a den. We had to go and find, the best looking stick that kind of looked like a gun, because, we would play with it, as young children. That imagination, what I'm trying to say is that imagination was manifested from moments of boredom. We created it, we filled that void. But we can't now. I see a lot of people finding it hard to switch off. And okay, sure, maybe you're not that child anymore that has all this imagination, and yeah, sure, you're an adult. But there's a space there. There's room for that self-improvement. There's room for reconnecting with yourself again. Because if you're not careful, you'll end up forgetting who you are. There are so many stresses in life, so many things that are constantly happening. Work, phone, message, email, everything. It's all going on at once. Okay, and I promise you, and I certainly found this, that if you allow this to go on for too long and not take some time out for yourself and take a break, then you're going to end up forgetting who you really are. You're always available for your boss. You're always available for your friend that needs you for something, that requires something for you. People are out to take away from you. They want something in return, and you will end up losing yourself in the process if you don't carve out this time for yourself. I promise you. I remember being at a point in my life where I didn't carve out any time. I didn't, and when I say spend time by yourself, I don't mean being on your phone. Sitting on your phone and scrolling constantly isn't switching off. It's not spending time by yourself. And this is exactly what we've replaced this time for, things like social media. And people aren't realising, people don't see this happen. It's happening right before our eyes. At what point do we decide that we say to ourselves, enough is enough? When do we acknowledge the fact that, without realising it, we've gone for such a long period of time, without realising that we're giving other people our time, and not leaving any kind of for ourselves, any time left over for our own growth, our own development, and having that little piece for us. We constantly are giving it away. This is just an example of exactly what I'm trying to tell you. To have this time of reflection. Become your own best friend again, and tap back into that. Being less available is something that I don't think comes as standard nowadays for a lot of people. I think we've got ourselves kind of so used to this system that we live in, where we're always available, and we have to reply to people. We have to kind of have our phones next to us. We have to reply to a comment. We have to send that text back. We have to reply to an email. But what we don't realise is happening is slowly over time, it's taking pieces of ourselves away from us, if that makes sense. We're kind of losing little bits of ourselves all the time, and we're almost in a day and age where we've felt obliged to do it. We felt like we have to do it, and we have no other choice. Not many people can take this step back nowadays and kind of look at it and say, where's the time for myself? If we don't make a conscious effort to become less available, what we're doing alongside that is we're not creating this time for ourselves, this room, this place, the space of improvement. How are we ever going to get better at anything that we do? How are we ever going to tap into our subconscious minds and help collect our thoughts? It scares me today, seeing the younger generation occupying moments of boredom by pulling out these smartphones and going on social media and things like that. And it certainly wasn't like that for me when I was younger. And, you know, it makes me fear for the next generation. It genuinely does. People are going to lose the ability to be able to operate their cognitive mind, to operate their subconscious mind. They're going to lose the moment. It's going to be gone. I promise you this is going to happen unless you make an effort now. When I allow myself to have time to gather my thoughts, to just sit, be present, it allows me to work on things, reflect on things that have happened throughout the day, and perhaps think how I could be better, how I could have done certain things better, how I could have been a better person, and work on that self-improvement. Because I'm present, I'm with myself, I sit down and I have those discussions internally. But if you're going to sit down and just pull out a mobile phone, open up a social media application and just look at the next best trending thing all the time, where does this self-improvement come from? Where do you get it from? You know, how are you making the time for it? So this conscious effort to carve out this time for personal development it has to be done. You have to physically say to yourself and look at your schedule. So perhaps ask yourself, when did you just have 5 minutes of nothing? When did you last tap into that subconscious mind and perhaps reflect just for a moment? If you're not doing it by now, you need to be doing it by creating, for instance, this YouTube channel, like I've done with the intention of, you know, trying to make everyone's life 1% better. I've carved out this time. I've had to carve the time out to, you know, set this camera up and, you know, use this microphone, and I'm having this time to myself to be able to reflect and make sure you're allowing time for yourself, and make sure you're selfishly carving that out for yourself as much as you can, at least on a daily basis. Start small, you know, build it up. There's so much you can do. Thank you for stopping by the video today, guys. I'll see you later.